Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwadner and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we have the pleasure of meeting with Norman Behar. He is CEO of the Sales Readiness Group. Welcome, Norm.
Gerhard, thank you so much.
Let's have a conversation about conversations.
Yeah, let's talk about great sales conversations. And I think the important point to think about, Gerhard, is that the conversation has shifted dramatically between buyers and sellers. If you think about what the internet has done, it's foundationally changed the relationship between the buyer and the seller. The buyers are much more enabled. By the time they interface with the seller, they could be as much as 50% through their sales process. They can go online, they can go to Google, they can go to the company website. So a salesperson who's focusing on features and benefits, which was really the key 10 years ago, is really not prepared to have the right conversation today.
So what would be the right conversation?
The right conversation is really elevating the conversation based on a thorough understanding of the company's business. So the level of call planning that's required to understand the business, the competitive landscape, and the key initiatives, the bar has really raised dramatically over the last 3 to 5 years.
You're talking about a B2B setting.
Absolutely. So we're talking about a B2B sale. Someone's maybe selling a software system or marketing services to a major corporation. And before they go in, they really have to map that organization. They need to understand who the key stakeholders are, who's the decision maker, who are the key influencers, and really what's of value to each of those different constituents. So there's a level of planning that's expected so they can really think about what's my call objective, what do I want to accomplish in that sales call.
So there are two parts to a conversation, the art of questioning, the art of listening. Let's start with the questions. What are the right questions to ask?
So I think that's really a foundational point. You have to think about the questions that you want to ask, and a salesperson who's not prepared is going to give that away very quickly. They're going to start to speak about what I would call fact questions. So what's your current situation? What were your revenues last year? What are your key initiatives? Those are things they should know. So they should keep their fact questions to a minimum and really start getting to more of what I'll call the money questions. What are your business needs? What are the implications? So we like to focus really on a shift to need and implication questions, because that's what creates a dialogue with the customer. What we want to do is move away from an interview and really move it to a conversation.
Right. And I think in terms of progression, you want to move from getting information to providing and sharing information to translating information to value.
Absolutely. So that's actually very much aligns with the methodology used, which starts with fact questions, then builds to need questions very quickly, and really the rich discussion is over implications. So what are the benefits associated with the change? What's the value that you can create for that customer? Then to your second point, listening is at least as important as the questions, because you're asking the right questions. They're open-ended questions. You're now in a dialogue. And so the problem with a lot of salespeople is they hear, but they're not necessarily listening. So ironically, we teach active listening as part of our sales methodology, which means listening for understanding, so you really can align your solution with the customer's priorities.
Yeah, and another good idea is not to jump on the client after the client has finished. I always found that it's a good idea to pause before you ask the next question, because sometimes people may extend their thoughts.
Right, you don't have to fill all the airspace with dialogue. We have a saying that basically says, let silence do the heavy lifting. So after you asked a question, it's okay to have a pause. The customer may be very thoughtful and really thinking about what to share with you. And if you just immediately jump in so you feel nervous because there's this pause, it's okay to wait. And then also don't ask the questions kind of in rapid fire succession. After each question, have a pause so that you can create that dialogue. It starts to build a healthier relationship and makes the customer feel much more at ease, and starts to help you really get to the point where you're a trusted advisor as opposed to just another sales professional.
So what you're saying is you have to emotionally be sensitive to the customer's state of mind.
Absolutely. I think emotional intelligence is something that's really not spoken about a lot as it relates to sales. But I think it's really the ability of the sales professional to empathize and understand the customer's situation, what are the problems, what are the challenges, and then think through how their solution aligns with those emotions and challenges that the customer is facing.
So let's summarize the 3 keys for better sales conversations.
So I would say if you had to look at 3 keys, you'd say, number 1, call planning. You really need to map the organization. You need to understand who the key stakeholders and influencers are and their priorities. 2, you have to ask great questions so you can create a great dialogue. and then you have to listen for understanding so you can align your solutions with their business challenges. And I think those are the three keys.
Well, thank you, Norman. We are going to continue our conversation tomorrow where we talk about selling value.